Hello and welcome back, fellow Singaporeans, Malaysians, and friends from around the world to another edition of Weekly Musings with Jay Yong, where we delve into the serious, the silly, and everything in between about this little red dot I call home for the last 1 year. Today, we're going to talk about poverty mindset. As we all know that inflation is affecting all our lives right now, wherever we are. It's affecting Malaysians, Singaporeans, Taiwanese, and some of my friends in US as well. And it's an issue where it's not easy to handle, especially when we have a lot of aspirations and things we need in our lives. But more importantly is the poverty mindset is something that could potentially be another roadblock in dealing with inflation. But I think I would not go into inflation deep into inflation in this episode. So what is poverty mindset? Well, according to Alan Weiss, it's a researcher in this field, poverty mindset. He calls it as one that influences behaviors consistent with beliefs that money shouldn't be spent, opportunities are limited, any risk at all is dangerous, any success is temporary and non replicable, and generally remaining in the back of the pack is safest. Now, take a moment and pause and think about what I just described. Alan Weiss' definition of poverty mindset. If one doesn't spend money because they think, oh, just this lack of resources, you know, I would probably won't be able to earn back this money. Wouldn't that be damaging or even like counterproductive to the society that we are living in right now? Can you imagine that you always go down to the restaurant that and to buy food and you wonder like, okay, I'm not gonna spend that much money because maybe I'm not probably gonna earn more in the future, so I'm just gonna save and eat just what I normally do. And that could actually backfire us, right? In the sense that we cannot enjoy things in life. Although we should also be conservative in terms of our spending. Well, conservative is maybe not the right word, maybe like prudent in spending. Interesting thing about me is I had this I had this struggle with poverty mindset very long time ago, and when I started working when I was 24, 25 years old, I realized that actually that poverty mindset wasn't developed at that time. I grew up in a family where there wasn't a lot of things that I could get from just asking for my parents. I had to work for it. And I don't know how, but some way or another, I kind of developed the poverty mindset. I knew like, my parents won't give me this and I have to work very hard for it. Hence, when I go out to the world, I felt like perhaps opportunities are limited. In that first job, I can remember that I work in this coaching institution where we only have like 5 employees. Well, technically, it's 2 employees because there are 3 founders of the company. And I was paid very, very little. So it was really barely enough to survive because like it's most like getting an intern pay at that time. I remember just like wondering myself like, oh, if I don't really have my parents' support, how am I going to survive just by doing this job every day? And to be honest, the pay was low, but I had very flexible working hours or maybe like very short working hours. So I guess that's the trade-off, right, of this kind of job that I got. I was basically I was basically tasked to edit and write a coaching program for young adults. Yeah. So back to this question where I had this struggle even like recently in Singapore where I set a budget like, okay, I'm gonna spend this amount of money on food, on restaurants, on just groceries and everything. But when I look at the app sometimes and I see how much I'm spending, and towards the end of the month, I'm like, hey, wait a minute, why am I not spending just enough the way I budgeted it to be? Why am I spending so little? And then that suddenly just had a light bulb moment, right? Where, hey, actually that budgeted money is meant to be spent. Somehow one way or another, I felt it's probably the old thinking that came back to me again, which is that poverty mindset is that if I spend this money, or just subconsciously like wanting to spend less so that it doesn't hit the threshold of my budget, maybe that kind of thought crept in. And I remember thinking to myself, hey, no, it's not. I should spend that amount of money I've budgeted, and it's a very cautiously created budget, and it's a very prudent budget because I know I'm not spending more than some X thousand dollars a month on food. I think the to put into perspective, like if someone in Singapore, let's say they are living a very average life, and 1,500 is actually more than the average budget for for an average Singaporean. So I've definitely not budgeted 1,500 for just food costs. It's way lesser than that. Sorry, I don't think I'll be sharing that specific detail, but I can share that it's less than 1,000 a month. But can you imagine that I, living in Singapore, have a decent pay, but I feel like, oh, it's not worth spending 1,000 on the food. That doesn't make any sense because I've already budgeted the amount. So how did I actually rewire my mind to think that, hey, is this the right way to approach spending, or is it really something? Is it really uh poverty mindset that's creeping in again? So, and I've in all transparency, I've been struggling like this for as long as I can remember, and now I'm 32 this year, and who knows that this mindset can keep coming creeping in again and again. But I realized that, hey, I think it really starts with I think a habit loop that we need to actually break out of, because it's in any habits that we've developed, and sometimes it could be developed subconsciously and even unconsciously, that there is a cycle, there's a habit feedback loop that we need to actually be conscious of and break it off. So I was that point of moment that, hey, I budgeted this X hundred of dollars a month, and I'm only spending maybe 80% of my budget. It's okay to spend the extra money to just reach about that budget, but the budgeted amount. And I had to really tell myself, hey, it's okay. It's okay to spend because you've already budgeted the amount. It's very hard to do this by yourself, by your own willpower, but apparently with enough priming in my mind, I think this is another method that I probably want to discuss in a future episode. Priming in the sense that writing down somewhere in your app, in your noting app, or wherever, even in like your desktop, they say that it's okay to spend the budgeted amount. It's okay to do that. In doing so, I think, we can slowly break the habit of, hey, really, maybe, the opportunities will come. And maybe to bring to the next point of this, how poverty mindset can negatively impact in ourselves individually and society. We just start from the way we think, to prime ourselves to, hey, it's okay. But really we want to think about the broader idea of how poverty mindset can affect the people around us, right? Because when you spend, when you have this poverty mindset, it also creeps into how you interact with someone else. For example, let's say I'm in a relationship with someone, and then if I have this poverty mindset suddenly, that person that I love, that maybe I would shortchange her. Like, I want to spend, I've budgeted amount to give her, let's say, a birthday gift, or Thanksgiving gift, a dress or something, let's say, for my girlfriend. But I realized that maybe I don't have the opportunity to earn the extra amount, and then I buy a cheaper one. That can easily mean that I would shortchange her by doing so. So, in a broader sense of thinking how poverty mindset would affect others, I think that's one example that it can happen. And if you think about, even in the broader sense, like, I had the other talk the other day, just a random. It's like, there's this country in Africa. It's known as Democratic Republic of Congo. They are one of the most resource-rich African country, according to some economists. But they are one of the most. They are the poorest African country right now, which is like the lowest GDP and the lowest GDP per capita. And when I had this thought, I'm just wondering, like, is it the people there in the Democratic Republic of Congo are really poor, or really they have a poverty mindset? So I thought about this even deeper. Perhaps they are not really poor, but they are just not using the resources that they have. But could it be a poverty mindset that is widespread in their society? That's why they are not using the resources. Well, they're probably building houses by themselves. They're not actively trading the resources, using money, using debt. And I think this is going to a different tangent in this podcast. But in a way, if you think that what their life there, maybe they have a certain poverty mindset where they think that, okay, it's okay to just spend lesser and then just do everything by ourselves and not trade and everything. Perhaps there's some kind of poverty mindset there. But we don't know. I don't know very very sure, but I would love to find out more in doing some deep reading and also do another future episode about this again. So, I'd like to summarize this episode again. So, poverty mindset, as described by Alan Weiss, well, my friends, opportunities are not limited. Money should be spent. And if you are struggling with poverty mindset, I really pray that you would break it off and consider priming methods and breaking the habit loops, perhaps. Thank you for listening to this episode, and I hope, please do share your feedback based on the poll that I've posted in this podcast, and would love to hear what you want me to talk about in future episodes. Bye bye.